the summer of love.
What's up everybody, it's Rexbro here, and today we're back for another Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile. And for today's deck profile, of course, we are doing Altergeist and a Pride of Plant or Brilliant Fusion variant of it, whichever one you want to call it. So yeah, Altergeist are a more control-focused archetype, really heavy on like if they don't get their normal summon, they're kind of screwed type deal. They're not like a spam deck where they don't need their normal summon at all. So that's why we run the Brilliant Fusion, to make sure that if our normal summon does go wrong, we have another option, or to help us get out a big boss monster to be able to get over some of our opponent's stuff while we control the board with traps. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into this. So we got our double Altergeist Kunquery. So it's sort of like a hand trap. Whenever your opponent were to attack you while you control an Altergeist monster, you can special summon this card from your hand and negate the attack, and then target one of your opponent's monsters and negate its effects while this card is on the field. So it does a lot of things because like we play it mainly for that second effect. Like, yeah, being able to negate the attack is nice, but pretty much it's more for that negate, because there's so many cards, especially like an Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon or something, that can be really dangerous to your strategy, especially in today's, or in the current format right now. Then we also have our 3 Altergeist Marionetter, the best card of the deck, because it sets an Altergeist trap directly from your deck to your field. Absolutely crazy. And then it also allows you to target another Altergeist card you control and an Altergeist monster in your graveyard, and then have them switch places. And you can actually target herself with that as well. So you can switch her out for a link monster, for one of your Altergeist link monsters in the grave. So that's pretty convenient, and it's definitely a 3 of any Altergeist deck. So now I have 2 Altergeist Silquidus, and it has a quick effect where you can return an Altergeist card you control to the hand and a card your opponent controls to the hand. And then if it's sent from the field to the graveyard, you can target an Altergeist trap in your graveyard and add it to your hand. And we run 2 of it just because like that graveyard recovery isn't as important, because of other cards that can do it. It is kind of nice though to be able to activate it, and that first effect is decent to get rid of, since it's non-targeting. Well, actually, no, it is targeting, never mind. It is still pretty decent though in certain situations, but it's a 2-up for me. I know some people like to play it at 3, but I personally just prefer it at 2. Then we have our 3 Altergeist Meluseek. It's our level 1. It can attack directly, and when it deals battle damage to your opponent, you can target one card they control and send it to the graveyard. And then if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can add a Altergeist monster from your deck to your hand. And so obviously that's going to be really good, because that makes it so that it can add any of your Altergeist monsters to your hand, and it combos off with another spell card that we run really well. Alright, now for our hand trap of choice, we play 3 Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. In my opinion, the best hand trap of the format. I'm pretty sure that's the just overall consensus, since it deals with some of those Pendulum player cards that Ash wouldn't be able to do anything about, or just wouldn't have a decent enough effect on, if that makes sense. So yeah, it's just the best hand trap of the format. We don't play it for anything other than the fact that it's hand trap. And it's light though, which is kind of convenient, because our only other light in the deck is, I think, yeah, Marionetter. So since we run the Brilliant Fusion, if we somehow brick, Ogre would be the better one to send over Marionetter. We just don't want to see Marionetter in the grave ever. Alright, so now for that Brilliant Fusion engine, we have 3 Scorpio, the 1 Cobra, 1 Trick Clown, 1 Garnet, and 1 Brilliant Fusion. So I think most people play like 2 or 3 Brilliant Fusion when they're playing this kind of engine, but I like it at 1. It's not super risky to play it at 1 or anything, because that's still 4 cards that you can draw into out of the 7 in the main deck. So you have over a 50% chance of getting the combo going. But the problem is that you can also end up breaking by drawing into Cobra, and if you draw into Cobra, that bricks the entire engine pretty much. or not the entirety of it. If you draw into that Brilliant Fusion, you still have a somewhat of a chance, but other than that, not really. But yeah, so it's it can be kind of problematic. This is the only card that is truly a brick, because with Trick Clown you can ditch it off of one for one, and then it'll just special summon itself, so you just get some combos off of that. And then with Garnet you can use a Link Spider off of Scapegoat to special summon it, or you could wait for Saryuya, and you can technically wait for Saryuya with all of these. It's just these two have specific outs for themselves and have more than one, whereas if you draw this, you now have 3 dead cards in your deck. And you have to wait to for Saryuya, otherwise you'd just be wasting your normal summon, because we don't really have any decent, the only thing that you might be able to do is, actually nope, since he can't special summon himself, yeah, so these just become 3 dead cards. So that is something you need to be careful about, and I didn't mention that in my Millenniumized deck profile, because I was also running these 4 cards. But if you draw into this, you now have 3 dead cards. So it is really, it's like running, it'd be like having 3 terraforming and then 1 field spell. It's just not gonna play out very well if you draw into that field spell. Like I said, it's not the end of the world, but it can be kind of a bummer. Alright, now for our next spell, we have 3 Magic Wand, or Wonder Wand. I don't know why I said Magic Wand. So yeah, if you, it gives any spellcaster 500 attack, and you can send it to the graveyard with this card to draw 2 cards. So it's sort of like a Spellbook of Judgment, or not Judgment, Knowledge. Spellbook of Knowledge, because it just sends a spellcaster. It's like a better knowledge for this deck, because giving your Meluseek that extra 500 attack means that you'll be attacking for 1,000 damage directly. And most people don't play battle traps or battle hand traps either, so it's not going to be a big deal. So you just be going in for that 1,000 attack, destroy one of their monsters, go in to or activate Wonder Wand's effect, and then draw 2 cards. So it's pretty good. We don't play Pot of Desires because we do play a pretty bricky 7-card engine. So we don't really want to be banishing the wrong pieces from there. That could end up completely ruining your deck. So you don't want to do that. And then we also have 3 Scapegoats because it's the best card in the game right now, I swear. Konami apparently thought Gofu was too crazy to the point where it had to be banned, even though it bricked harder than Scapegoat does, because Scapegoat you just have to wait a turn to activate it, whereas Gofu you have to have your board clear in order to summon it. So I don't know, I'd rather see Gofu come back at 3 than have Scapegoat at 3 any longer. Like, Scapegoat's pretty busted. I love playing it, of course, because it's every single one of these is just a Link 4 waiting to happen. So yeah, it's pretty busted. Anyways, we have our 1-for-1 for getting out Meluseek, just because it's one of the most important Altergeist, and since it's searchable, you know, why not? 1 Raigeki and 1 Monster Born, pretty much staples at this point in decks. I know that some people aren't playing Raigeki right now, I guess because of Pendulums, but I still like the card because it does deal with a lot of other decks. Some decks just don't have the recovery power to deal with the Raigeki right now, so it's up to you. Then we have our Altergeist Protocol for our first trap, and it is actually, in my opinion, probably the best Altergeist trap card, but it's a one-of just because it's searchable and drawing into multiples would brick, so we want to keep it at 1. And if it does get destroyed, you know, it's unfortunate, but we can add it back. We have ways to deal with that, so it's fine at 1. And what it does is it makes it so that all of your Altergeist effects are protected and cannot be negated, and then when your opponent activates a monster effect, you can send another Altergeist card you control to the graveyard to negate the effect and destroy the monster. So it can be pretty busted, and it's super good in the Pendulum matchup because they'll try and use Vortex Dragon on your monster, on your Altergeist cards, and it just won't work for them. So it's super fun to pull that off. Then we have 3 Altergeist Camouflage. Makes one of your monster Altergeist cards unable to be attacked, and it can't be targeted. Wait, no, it just can't be targeted for attacks. And then, but it doesn't prevent your opponent from attacking directly. And then, oh no, I was right. It just prevents it from being targeted in general. So yeah, except for by your own cards. And then when you can banish this card to protect an Altergeist cards from being destroyed by battle or card effect as well. So this is your protection for a lot of the cases. In a lot of cases, this is your protection, and you know, it prevents your opponent from being able to target some of your monsters as well. So if you have one on field and then one in grave, since it's not once per turn at all, you can just activate both of its effects in one turn, and you're pretty much set. So yeah. Next we have 2 Altergeist materialization. It's called the Haunted for the deck, and then you can banish it from your graveyard to target an Altergeist trap in your graveyard and add it to your hand. So it's sort of like Soliloquist with this, and this is how you get back your Protocol, just because that is probably the best card, and that's probably going to be the one that you're adding back the most, or either that or another copy of itself. But yeah, it's a really good card, just because being able to special summon your Altergeist back is really convenient. Then we have 2 personal spoofing. This searches out any of your Altergeist monsters, and all it requires is for you to shuffle an Altergeist card. And since it's just a once per turn, if you have 2 of these on field, you can do it multiple times in a turn. So it's pretty good. Then we have 2 bottomless trap hole. It's just such a good card. Don't know why it's back at 3. I mean, I guess some people don't like it, but I do, because most monsters summoned are going to have 1500 or more attack, and it banishes it, which is a lot better in Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now. So yeah. And then we have 1 Solemn Judgment, because it just takes care of literally anything. So before I move on to my extra deck, I do want to say that, like, if you want to switch out some of the cards, I'd recommend taking out maybe like the bottomless trap holes for more brilliant fusion, or if you don't like 1-for-1, take out one of the 1-for-1 for another copy. I don't think you need both. I have played it with both, and I think that it bricks more when you have all 3. Having 2 isn't bad because it's like a safeguard against bricking, but you do need to really keep in mind that at 1 you're playing a very efficient version, but has the risk of bricking the most. Or it has the risk of, actually no, running it at 1 doesn't really have that many drawbacks. The only thing is that you might risk drawing into one of your other pieces before you draw into it, which I guess can be bad, but since for the most part we're wanting to search it off Scorpio, so it's more of like whether or not, how much you trust your deck, and how much you're willing to gamble. If you're willing to play all 3, I'd actually recommend just dropping the Predaplant engine and putting in something else at that point, because the Predaplant engine is just sort of supposed to get you more monsters on the field and streamline the build, but it's up to you. And now, anyways, moving on to the extra deck, we have the 1 Seraph Knight for the Brilliant Fusion combo. Gets you that extra deck, or gets you that extra normal summon, and then since you have a monster now, you can use it for a Link 4 or a Decode Talker. Then we have 2 Link Spiders and a Link Karibo for the scapegoats, and actually Link Karibo kind of plays a bigger part in this deck because of the fact that we actually do have Meloseek, so you can send Meloseek to the graveyard to special summon Link Karibo back. So it is really good in this deck, because then you can activate Meloseek's effect as well. So maybe if you have multiples of these, add a second one and take out another Link Spider, but you need at least 1 so that Garnet doesn't break in your deck. Or at least so that, like, you have an option with something to do with Garnet. Then moving on for our Link 2s, we have Altergeist Hextia. It gains attack equal to the original attack of each Altergeist monster it points to. I don't think it's physically possible for it to point to more than 1. No, I don't think it's. I genuinely don't think it's physically possible. So yeah. Yeah, you're probably only going to get, unless you're targeting the other Link, which, like, never happens, but if it were to happen, then you'd pretty much be winning. Anyways, it has a quick effect for contributing an Altergeist monster it points to, negate the activation of a spell or trap card, and destroys it. And then if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add an Altergeist card from your deck to your hand. Searches out your entire Altergeist lineup, which is pretty crazy, and that's probably, like, the main reason why you're going to summon this, so you can search something out. Its attack-based effect and negation is pretty good, and it will come in handy a lot, so do keep that in mind. Then we have a Mrs. Radiant for Scapegoat and just for Link extensions in general. You're probably going to go into this before you go into that, just so you have like extra link zones. And then we have an Akashic Magician. This is sort of something you can make with just the Predaplants if you happen to draw into your Brilliant Fusion and have the Predaplant combo, because then you can just use them to make Akashic and then use Brilliant Fusion to make this Seraph Knight, or go with something along those lines. And then we have an Underclock Taker, boosting up your attack points a little bit, or well, I guess your opponent loses attack points. Pretty much the same thing though. Proxy Dragon, Link extensions, and going into Link 4s. Decode Talker, just to get some extra attack on the board, and its effect isn't bad, and you're probably not going to use it that often. It's mainly just for having a beater on the field. Then we have Altergeist Prime Banshee, the first Link monster that we got for this deck. It also has a quick effect where you contribute an Altergeist monster and special summon an Altergeist monster from your deck to your zone that this card points to. And if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add a target an Altergeist card in your graveyard and add it to your hand. So it's the entire Altergeist lineup from your graveyard, which is pretty good as well. You're actually probably not going to be going into this as much, if even at all. You're probably only going to use this like hecka late game or something when you already have your Hextia out and you just want to get rid of it to search a card, and then you go into Prime Banshee, and then maybe activate its effect to pop off one of your either Meluseek or Siliquist effect to get some more traps on the field. But that's pretty much it. Then we have Ningirsu just to take care of pretty much anything. And you're probably going to be going into this a lot because we do have a lot of cards that we end up just having on the field and might end up running out of their purpose. So Ningirsu is a good way to get rid of that and help take care of some of your opponent's monsters. And for our Link 4s, we play Firewall, Borreload, and our win condition pretty much Saryuja. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you think of Altergeist. If you have any tech ideas, or let me know what you play in your deck. So anyways, thanks for watching. Make sure you leave that like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Hope to see you next time, and as always, have a roaring good day.